Howdy folks, and welcome to the first episode of Review Time. This is a new series I'm doing where at the end of every month I'm going to talk about some movies I saw and give mini reviews for each of them. Let's not waste any more time and start with The Stranger. This is my first Orson Welles film, and I think he's a pretty good director. This is a film about a Nazi living in hiding after World War II and what happens when people from his past start appearing. I thought this was really great. It's nail-bitingly tense and has some really great performances. It gets a lot darker and a lot more psychological than I expected to. There's not much else to add except that I thought that one German guy was Willem Dafoe. I watched some of the Oscar-nominated live-action documentary short films, but the one I really want to talk about is Night of Fortune. This was a really touching film about death and moving on, told through incredibly interesting and relatable characters. In terms of the short films nominated, I think that this is a bit better than The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, even though I want that one to win a bit more. After that, I watched Branded to Kill. This is a Japanese assassin film from the 1960s, and it was absolutely phenomenal. It somehow manages to be incredibly violent and serious, but still funny all at once. Its ability to keep reinventing itself sounds like it would get old after a while, but it really doesn't. The action scenes are absolutely incredible, and so is the cinematography. I mean, seriously, I think this is one of the best looking films I've ever seen. Then I watched 500 Days of Summer. This was probably my biggest surprise of the month. I did not expect to like this as much as I did. This was really comforting and charming, while still being able to pick apart the tropes of the rom-com genre. For longtime fans of the channel, I changed my mind. I do listen to the Smiths. Shortly afterwards, I watched Don John. I heard somewhere that this was the sequel to 500 Days of Summer. You only really need to read the plot summary to know that this is not that. Then I watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I'd been meaning to watch this for a while, but this was just awful. I had relatively high expectations going in, but then I remembered that this was made by Illumination. There are like a million other movies that have the same story beats and character arcs as this. I mean, seriously, I think I could see the ending of this movie just 5 minutes in. But you want to know my biggest disappointment? There was no Mario Golf. Then I watched Contagion. Most people know this as the movie that basically predicted the pandemic, but that's not right, because the real pandemic lasted much longer than 130 days. Otherwise, this was great. It's incredibly tense and effective and has some really great performances. I don't think I touched my face for hours after watching this. Then I watched This Is Me. Now, I don't think I understood anything of what was going on, or how anyone allowed this to be made. I mean, it goes from a weird flower factory to a house made of glass to a council of gods representing zodiac signs to some awful looking CGI mansion, and I mean, you know what? It's not bad. It made no sense, but it was honestly pretty inspiring to see something that does not hold any ideas back. Whatever they came up with, they put in the movie. I mean, sure, it kinda looks like Skylanders, but it's pretty interesting nonetheless. Afterwards, I watched Suncoast. I think this is definitely the best movie of the year so far. This really surprised me. It talks about death and moving on in poignant ways while still being funny and relatable. More people should be seeing this. A bit after that, I watched Anatomy of a Fall. I've wanted to see this for quite some time, and unlike some 2023 films, this did not disappoint. This is easily in my top 10 of last year. Sandra Hüller's performance is impeccable, and so is everything else about the film. The film talks about belief, and how even if we don't know what really happened, our personal beliefs can either comfort or harm us. The film's decision to never answer the question of if she really did it or not forces you to question your own beliefs. This is one of the best movies of last year and deserves all the recognition it is getting. After that, I watched Good Time. This was one of the most stressful cinematic experiences I've ever had. The editing, score, and cinematography add to the intensity of the story. It keeps you glued to the screen the entire way through. You can't take your eyes off until the end, and the ending is phenomenal. Robert Pattinson was incredible in this and should have gotten more recognition. Then I watched Dune. This was incredible, but I don't want to say too much, because you can expect more on it in like a week or so. But not much else to say, except that I'm even more excited for part 2 now. And finally, I watched Oppenheimer. I've wanted to watch this since it came out, and it did not disappoint. This is one of the best scores I've ever heard in a movie. The editing makes this feel only an hour and 30 minutes long, and the performances are just fantastic. The first hour and 50 minutes of this feel a bit like a generic historical biopic, but after they detonate the bomb, it starts going into psychological territory, and it starts getting really good. It's so good, in fact, that it makes you rethink the first part. The film talks about morality and guilt in ways you don't expect, and the ending is absolutely incredible. One of the best endings of last year, probably only surpassed by Killers of the Flower Moon. In short, I will not be able to stop thinking about this for a while. Let me know if you want this series to continue, but for now, I would like to thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow my letterbox, stay safe, and drink water. Bye.